Yay, it's working. All right, so now we've got 45 minutes till the top of the hour. I'll do my best to get you guys in and out of here real quick. This is the first of what will hopefully be many of these. I plan to be doing these at least on a monthly basis. This first one is kind of special because, well, today I'm really going to be talking more about my personal experience over this summer and kind of how I've regained control of my life, so to speak. And we'll go through um, self-analysis, sort of an exercise where you guys can also do an analysis on yourselves and how you're operating in the six main areas of life and health. And we'll wrap it up with that with an action plan. So again, welcome. Uh, oh, yeah, Jeremy can't make it. He's got family over there, and he was hoping to listen in. But okay, so we'll rock on. We'll get started. Okay, so the intention of this call is the 10.0 version of you. Now, we know there's no such a thing as perfection. Nobody lives a perfect life. And it certainly isn't about living a perfect life, but it's really about setting an intention and following through on that intention. And this is more than just setting goals. Goals are something that winners and losers both have. We all set goals. Everybody sets goals. The reason why we don't typically achieve the goals that we set for ourselves has more to do with the expectations that we set around those goals, how we manage those goals, and the intentions that we have to begin with that are the underlying support network that will set us up for success in life. Now, that said, it is my intention to live the rest of my life, the balance of my life. I'm about halfway through my life, give or take, maybe less than halfway through. I don't know. I mean, where technology is right now, I just had another NAD IV drip treatment today, and I'm feeling like $1,000,000. I feel like I might live forever with technology, the way it's evolving so quickly with biohacking and with just so many technologies converging with AI. There are treatments for ailments that are just around the corner, thanks to AI, for example. So I really, really believe it's genuinely worth, no matter what your age is, to have the intention of living a 10.0 life, where everything in your life is 10 out of 10, where you wake up every single day and you're beyond grateful, not just grateful for the opportunity to work on the challenges that you're facing in your life, but you're grateful that your life is freaking amazing. Now, if I go back 3 months ago, my life was not amazing. You guys know my story. Super quick to recap. I almost died. Ended up in the hospital a couple of times. My nervous system shut down. Physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, my emotional health, my financial health, everything went into this vicious spiral. It was triggered by my nervous system. And for 4 months, I got less than 1 hour of sleep per day. And what I learned through that period is what I'm encapsulating and sharing with you guys here today. And that is everything is connected. Now, that said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a shrink. I'm not even an expert on any of these topics. Simply sharing from my personal experience. And I highly recommend that for you to get the results that you want in your life as well, it simply starts with setting the intention that you're going to take radical, full responsibility for every area of your life. That's it. You start by taking radical responsibility for every single area of your life. I do the same. And if millions of other people would just do that one thing, take responsibility, stop looking outside of yourself for the answers, stop blaming other people, stop blaming the system, stop regretting and having shame and regret and remorse and living in a pity party from the past. Just take full responsibility. Be grateful for the opportunity to take action. My Bible the last month has been man's search for meaning. And what this book has taught me this time around, now that I've read it properly through front to back, and it really has become kind of my Bible, is challenges that we face. It is our purpose where we get meaning in life is by facing those challenges with gratitude, facing whatever it is that is in front of us, and looking at not as a problem, but as a puzzle. Not as a problem, but as a puzzle. Problems don't exist. There's no such a thing as a problem in my life. Got lots of puzzles. There's some tricky ones to put together. But by simply changing my perspective and looking at my problems as puzzles, it has empowered me to take responsibility. All six key areas of health. So real quick, the way I'm seeing this is again what life taught me when I went through this 4 months of trial and tribulation. But it taught me was that all these areas of life, they're interconnected. They're interconnected and they really cannot be separated. And in the past, I would work on my emotional health. For example, I would work on my healing, my sexual trauma, my religious trauma, my spiritual trauma. Or maybe I would work on my physical health by going to the doctor, getting my blood works done, working on my diabetes, working on my physical fitness, or I'd, work on my business, my financial success and my financial health. And I would work on my business and I would bounce around. And on any given week or month, like a spotlight, the focus was on one of these areas of life. And that's the way I've operated for the most part of my life. And I'm sure you can relate to that as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the normal, traditional way of looking at life. But what I realized over this 4 month period, when it became so crystal clear to me that everything is inextricably linked and collapsed together. Well, if everything is linked together, how do you work on everything all at once? That's not really possible or feasible or realistic either, right? There's so many instances and so many people that talk about this. That, focus on your strengths. Don't focus on your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths. Set your goals. Work on your business. Join 75 Hard. Work on your physical fitness. Reconnect with your spiritual side, with your emotional side. Mental health is important, and our attention is scattered all over the place when we look at these things as individual buckets. But what I discovered was a new approach that I'm calling my daily method of operation. And it's something that's very, very intuitive, that seems to be working extremely well for me. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys here today. So, key point here, key takeaway before I move to the next slide is instead of looking at your life in isolation, looking at the individual problems or issues as standalone things to be worked on, what if there was a different approach, different way to look at them? Now, this new approach, this new way of looking at our lives is more of a holistic approach. Now, there's two ways to spell holistic. There's WHOLE, whole, and that's really the definition that I'm referring to here. There's also HOLIST, holistic, which is more what the alternative health uses holistic as a term. But I'm speaking about holistic, looking at everything as interconnected. And when you do that, all of a sudden, when you layer everything on top of each other, very, very quickly, you can probably sort them and say, I'm strongest in my physical health, maybe, and I'm weakest, let's say, in my mental health. And when you look at them through this sort of a lens or this sort of a perspective, what you'll very, very quickly realize is that you're not going to be 10 out of 10 in all areas of your life. That's just not possible. And in this context and in this framing, from my experience, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are addressing your weakest links, because you will never outperform the weakest link. You can never outperform the area of life where you are weakest. Again, that is because everything is interconnected. Everything is energy. And I'm going to show you some diagrams, some examples here. But before we do that, let's just run through what are these 6 different areas of life. You can take screenshots of this if you'd like. I've also copied and pasted this into the WhatsApp channel, so you can copy it from there if you'd like. And these are in no particular order. What I'd like you to do is in your notebook, give yourself a score or a rating for your emotional health. So I'll talk through these 5 questions that I've asked myself and that you can ask yourself as well. And then just give yourself an honest but fair rating. Don't be overly critical or harsh with yourself. And at the same time, don't lie to yourself. Be honest and realistic. So the first question is, how often do I feel emotionally balanced, in control? Do I effectively process and express my emotions when needed? Do we keep things inside? How frequently do I feel overwhelmed by negative emotions, anger, anxiety, sadness? Am I satisfied with my ability to experience joy and fulfillment in life? And how well do I handle conflict or emotionally charged situations? Being emotionally healthy means that we are able to handle the things that come at us on a daily basis. We're able to handle them without defaulting to the automatic program, the automatic negative thoughts that come from our past. Let's say we get triggered to do with love or money or relationship. How do those feelings disrupt our life? Do they disrupt at all? Are you able to take them in stride? Are you able to process and handle those emotions in real time? It's very, very important. Physical health. How often do I engage in physical activity or exercise that challenges my body? Do I get sufficient sleep, quality and quantity each night? I wear this Whoop tracker, and wow, I had taken sleep for granted my entire life. Michael, I know you talk about this where you didn't sleep for 40 years. I mean, obviously you got some sleep, but after the 4 months where I averaged less than an hour a night of sleep, wow, suddenly sleep was the most important thing in my life. Everything else came second from that. How would I rate my nutrition and the quality of food that I eat regularly? How often do I experience pain or discomfort in my body? Am I satisfied with my current energy levels throughout the day? Our physical energy, do we have the physical energy to get through the day? Or are we dragging a middle of the afternoon and setting ourselves up for another caffeine crash? Super important. One thing for me, being diabetic, type 1.5 diabetic, managing my glucose is directly correlated to my physical energy. And in a hierarchy, gosh, if I get that wrong and if I mess up, my glucose goes out of whack. That just completely shuts me down. I get really lethargic. I have to lay down. I have to take a nap. Everything else grinds to a halt. Sexual health. Why is sexual health so important? And here's why that is. How satisfied am I with my current level of sexual intimacy or connection? Do I feel comfortable and confident in expressing my sexual needs and desires? How often do I experience feelings of sexual wellness, balance? How well do I communicate with my partners about sexual matters? Am I satisfied with my overall sexual health, including safety and awareness? Our vitality, no matter what our age is, for someone Milo's age, I just turned 19. I mean, this may not be an issue, but for those of us who are getting up in our age, it is super important that our hormones are properly balanced. As a result of a lot of the trauma from my childhood, I actually have something called hypogonadism, which basically means like my body produces practically zero amounts of testosterone. Well, thanks to modern science, I'm on testosterone replacement therapy. And I've been able to raise my testosterone levels to a normal threshold. And wow, all of a sudden, I'm bringing my hormonal balance of testosterone up. That affects my physical energy as well. And that affects all of this because they're all interconnected. Mental health. This is different than emotional and spiritual. Mental health is something that I think deserves to be looked at in itself in isolation. It deserves to be talked about. We don't talk about this stuff nearly enough. How often do I feel mentally clear and focused? So mental clarity, being able to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day of clear, mentally demanding or mentally taxing work, that is not something I had the ability to do before this year. In fact, for over a decade, when I was on stimulants, antidepressants, and cocktail of other drugs, my mental health was declining further and further and further. But not just in a general mental health sort of a way. I didn't have the mental energy. I didn't have the mental clarity. I didn't have the ability to focus. I didn't have the ability to do mentally taxing things. That was scary because that's going to affect all other areas of your life, right? Things like going to the storage lockers to get stuff out of storage and moving it from one location to the next. Things like building a preparing a presentation like this. Simple things like being mentally present at dinner with my sons, for example. If you don't have the mental energy to do those things, it affects all of the areas of your life. Do I manage stress in a healthy and effective way? How well do I stay present, avoiding overthinking about the past or the future? So you can be emotionally healthy, but mentally weak. And when those automatic negative thoughts come, you don't have the mental strength to say no, like a bird that lands on your head. You end up allowing it to build a nest there. Those thoughts become things. Am I satisfied with how I handle the day's daily challenges or problems? How often do I engage in activities that stimulate and strengthen my mind? As we age, brain is a muscle. Losing our mind, and I thought for a few months there that I had lost my mind. That was the scariest thing. I would rather lose my limbs than lose my mind. Maintaining our cognitive strength and cognitive abilities well into our golden years until the day we die, like the 10.0 version of me will be mentally healthy. That means more than just in a surfacey sort of way. I'm talking about acute, discerning, clear, quick. Yeah, that's why I do this NAD therapy. That resets the mitochondria, and that literally reverses aging. Financial health. How is financial health? Now, this is the only one of the six that is not on the inside. This is governed by our exteroceptions. Interoceptions are the things that we feel beneath the surface of our skin and beneath. But our financial health is an expression of the other 5 areas of health. How secure do I feel about my current financial situation? This is tied to our emotions. Do I have a clear plan for saving, investing, and managing my debt? How often do I experience stress or anxiety around money? Is stress and anxiety around money a distraction? Am I satisfied with the balance between my income and my expenses? How responsible am I being? Am I being a responsible steward with the resources that I have? And how well do I manage unexpected financial challenges? Spiritual health, this is one that was not even on my radar up until a few months ago. I was a proud atheist for many, many years. I was agnostic on a good day. Wow, did I ever learn something? You cannot possibly live a life of meaning. You cannot possibly live a life where you are genuinely happy and fulfilled and at peace inside if you are not connected to source. Now, I'm not talking about some man-made religion here. I'm talking about your personal relationship. I'm talking about my personal relationship. Do I feel connected to a purpose that is greater than myself, to a higher power that I answer to, that I'm beholden to? Do I regularly engage in practices that nurture my spiritual beliefs, meditation, prayer, reflection? How well do I live according to my core values, principles? Suddenly, the concept of morality and having not just virtue, but strong morals with a strong right and wrong, a sense of right and wrong. This is really, really important. How often do I feel a sense of peace or inner fulfillment? No matter how embodied I was, no matter how much breath work I did, no matter how worked on my emotions or my mental health, my physical health, that genuine inner peace and sense of inner fulfillment, it was missing literally up until the last few months when I reconnected with Source. And I'm satisfied with the role spirituality plays in my daily life. This is as important as sleep that I get. So rate yourself on each of these on a scale of 1 to 10, the number that you believe is fair where you stand today. Now, I want to introduce you to the Satir change model. Those of you guys that have been part of Incubate or Brand Incubator, you know what this is. Satir change model basically starts on the left where you have our status quo. That's number one in the red. The old status quo is where the things are. And in each of the 6 areas that we just covered, you're going to have a status quo. So I want you to think, let's go back through these. What is the status quo for spiritual health? And that number that you gave yourself, financial health, mental health, sexual health, physical health, emotional health, each of those 6 areas. The status quo is where you've been. And you may have been there for quite some time. You may have been there for weeks, you may have been there for months, you may have been there for years or even decades. But life has this interesting way of causing us to take action. For me personally, number 2, resistance, that orange phase there. I went through a period earlier this year, back in January, where I bumped into some resistance. This is where the train comes off the track, potentially. Inevitably through life, we will meet something that disrupts us, and it thrusts us into a period, number 3, of chaos. Chaos is upset. And chaos is where we are called and we are challenged to not look at it as a problem, but we're faced with a puzzle. We have got to put together a puzzle. But the difference between this puzzle and our past is that this puzzle, we don't know what this puzzle looks like. We don't know what the box that the puzzle came in is even supposed to look like, unless we have a vision for our lives. This is why it is so important, it is so critical to have a vision for your 10.0 future. And by looking at all 6 areas of our life and coming up with a vision of what is the 10.0 version of my future, what will be the new status quo, we will stay stuck in this cycle of change. And it's really, really scary to stay stuck there. I was stuck there for 4 months. I thought that the puzzle that I was supposed to be putting together was based off of my past. But no, my future was going to look completely different than in my past had looked. And for that, I had to have faith in the future, faith in a higher power. And I had to reconnect with my spirituality. And only once that vision becomes clear in your mind can you move into stage 4, which is integration. And integration is where you're taking action. You're taking action towards the outcome that you want. And ultimately, the appropriate actions will lead you to a new status quo. So I would say, for me personally, I'm between the integration and the new status quo. I'm now beginning to reap some of the rewards of this new 10.0 version of Jay. I've now integrated enough over the last 10 weeks, enough new behaviors that are affecting all 6 areas of my life simultaneously to where my new status quo is literally, it's very young, it's very fragile, and it's very new. But I can taste it, I can smell it, I can feel it. I've literally in the last week just moved into a permanent resident, into a gorgeous condo downtown Toronto. The year, 13 months of chaos, of transition, living out of suitcases and duffel bags, Costa Rica twice, lived in a condo here in Toronto, then all that stuff was moved to storage, and then I went to Costa Rica, and then I went to Israel, and then I came back, and then I went back to Costa Rica, and then I came back to Canada, and then I lived with my son for a little while, and I'm bouncing around, and it's just this year, so to speak, of chaos and upheaval. But I had a clear vision as to what the outcome. I take a step back. Over the last 3 months, I've developed your vision of what I want my future to look like. And only by putting these 6 areas together in alignment and then properly setting and properly managing those expectations, am I now able to say that I'm not like home free. I've got it all figured out. My life is all perfect. I'm not saying that at all. But the new reality is now becoming my reality. That vision of that ideal future is now in all areas, in an organic, sustainable, holistic way, is becoming my reality. And for that, I'm just incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly grateful. And I'm thankful to God. I'm thankful to my friends, thankful to my family. And it's not just because of me being hardworking or me being good looking or me having the resources or me. No, it's a result holistically of everything that I've mentioned. So let's talk for a minute about setting and managing expectations, because this is more important, in my opinion, than setting goals. Setting expectations and then managing those expectations, adapting to them. I've talked about this already. I won't repeat myself there. Is the secret here. So I've got my journals with me, and I'll share with you some screenshots. I've been tracking my daily habits. There's about 30 things on a daily basis. For August, there was 27. July, there's 25. September, there's 30 that I'm tracking on a daily basis. And my expectation isn't that I'm going to be perfect 100% of the time. I'm not unreasonable, and I'm not dumb. I know that there are going to be days and maybe even weeks where I fall off the wagon, where I go on a road trip like I did with Milo, for example, or I'm living out of a hotel and I'm just not set up, or the environments aren't conducive to me being as disciplined. Am I going to allow that to completely disrupt, throw me off of my game? Absolutely not. So having unrealistic expectations is the enemy. Having unrealistic expectations is associated with perfectionism. Perfectionism is a form of self-sabotage, because unconsciously we all know that being perfect is unattainable. Period. Full stop. So this is why it is so important to disassociate with your perfect, or even so to speak, your ideal self, future self. Ideal is a word that I can tolerate because it suggests something of value that you're aspiring towards, but there's no such a thing as perfect. Accepting who we are, the lot that we've been given, the body that we have, the genes that we have, the damage that we've already done to ourselves, taking full responsibility is more important than having some unrealistic, idealistic expectation that is completely unattainable. The reality is, if we took, so there's about 10 arrows here, and every month we looked at every single individual month in isolation, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 months. I could have done 12, I suppose, couldn't count them. Where you are now and where you'll be in a year, in reality, like that's the big picture conversation I want to have with you guys. Like I know, I don't know exactly where I'll be in 1 year, but I know that if I'm intentional, I have the right expectations, and that I'm doing the work on a daily basis, it's inevitable that even if there are some ups and downs, a year from now, I will be the goal is that the new status quo doesn't become the old status quo. In other words, that we don't stagnate. That once we reach that new status quo is a place where we grow. It's a place where we grow organically and holistically and sustainably, so that we don't have to go through these massive disruptions like I just came through. So I've designed a daily method of operation, a way of being that is designed to prevent what happened to me from ever freaking happening again. So it's like an insurance policy, you could say. So on this next slide, this shows the interconnectedness. Now, I didn't put all 6 areas here, but if you look at the bottom, I put 4, because you can see right away how these are all connected. You're struggling financially, and that is your number one pain. But at the same time, you have emotional hangups about money. you have mental hangups about money, and your physical energy and your physical health is not optimal, there's no way that just by simply focusing on increasing your financial health, becoming more financially successful, that just by focusing on the money part of it alone, that you're going to change your financial situation in a sustainable way. There's just no way. Because in order to sustainably change your financial situation, you need all parts. So here's what that means. You need the physical energy to show up and do the job. You need the mental clarity to think clearly, to make the right decisions, to be able to put in the hours that it is going to take and have the mental acuteness and the mental discernment and the mental strength. The and 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 your spiritual health. If you're feeling unfulfilled doing what you're doing, if you're spiritually not fulfilled and connected to your creator, you're going to be doing work that is lame. You won't be inspired. You won't be inspiring. And you won't be able to do work that truly is going to attract the wealth, attract the clients, attract the opportunities to you. So our mental, spiritual, and physical health, we will not outperform those. Our financial health is a laggard. It comes as a result of being in alignment in those other areas. And you could even say our sexual health, because our sexual health, our lower chakra, is directly correlated to our creativity and to our power and to our personal power. And if you're not in alignment in all seven chakras, you could say, or in all of these areas, it'll be like working a job that is unfulfilling to you and then expecting to get a promotion or to be successful. We know that. We know that. That's rudimentary, that we will never outperform our self-image, not in any area of life. And my challenge to you guys is that optimize your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health, your mental health, your sexual health. Get your drive back, your creativity back, and watch what happens with everything that you touch. If I look back at the times in my life where I've been most successful in business, it is when I was high energy. I had complete clarity of purpose. And when I absolutely loved what I was doing, and when I felt fulfilled doing what I was doing. Oh my gosh, look at this. I thought I had a co-pilot here. The kid drops off the webinar and orders his pop a massive cheeseburger. And I'm supposed to be here hosting a workshop. Thanks, Marla. All good. All right. So just you start what I did for July, and I made a lot of edits to this, a lot of changes to it, and really didn't have many expectations at all. Like I wasn't going to be super hard on myself. The ones on the left side where it says 75, those were non-negotiable. There are some here that are non-negotiable that I do every single day. A social media posts, for example, and the things that I'm asked to do by my coach, Dan Martell. So I'm enrolled in a really high-end, high-level coaching program, and to be in compliance with that coaching program, extremely expensive in order to participate in it, to ask questions in the group setting, et cetera, et cetera. The things that I have to do to be in integrity on a daily basis. But there are a lot of nice to do or nice to have things here that, you know, I'm on a 50-year plan. It's the way I'm looking at this, right? So this was July, and I did the analysis, and I was about 76% is what I followed through. So check marks versus X's. X means that I didn't complete that. So outdoor, 2 workouts a day, an outdoor 45-minute, indoor 45 minutes, following a diet, 5 liters of water. I mean, the 5 liters of water, that's unrealistic. It's hard to drink 5 liters of water. So I dialed it back to 4 liters the next month, because I was having a real hard time getting this 5, and it's not necessary to drink that much water. I thought I would go above and beyond 5 liters. Yeah. 10 pages of nonfiction, 1 page of scripture, progress picture, gratitude journal every day, call my kids or my dad every single day, no alcohol, NAD, whether it's an IV or sublingual, so on and so forth. So this was July, and made a bunch of changes, adapted it for August. Now, August 80, the first week of August, you can see there that first column. I was 81%. I was really, really feeling good about myself. Really, really strong. Started off August really, really strong. Then the week before and the week of the road trip, it dropped to 52%, 29%. The wheels just came off. Didn't really think too much of it, but definitely felt like, oh, shoot, I'm really, really lagging behind here. And was really struggling while on the road on this road trip and living out of hotels and whatnot. And then I picked up some sort of bug on this trip as well. We got back, and that fourth week of August, I bounced back up to 40%, but still less than half of the follow through that I had in the first week of the month. And I actually had a conversation with Milo, and I was like, man, I've been really following. I've really fallen off on my daily method of operation. And Milo just made a comment in passing. He was like, Dad, just go easy on yourself. And I thought to myself, you know what? I am being a little bit unrealistic. Like, it, I I didn't expect to get sick after the trip. I didn't expect the trip to have that big of an impact on me. But so what? These are 2, 3 weeks out of 50 for the year. So it's really, really important that if you fall off the wagon, that if you have an off week or even 2 weeks, or in this case, like I had 3 weeks, you don't allow that to change your strategy long term. It's important that you trust the systems you're putting in place. Trust the plan you're putting in place. It is so critical in every area of life to have a plan. Have a plan. Having a plan allows us to be proactive versus reactive. Having a plan that you believe, I learned this from Jake Gilbert, wonderful gentleman who was a good friend of mine. He was also a mentor. He was the CEO of my previous business. And he would harp on this. I think I was super successful in corporate America. He was like, okay, well, what's our plan? And we would never take action without having a plan, talking in business for the most part. Plan or system. Okay? We would sit down, we would take a day, come up with a strategy, think through all of our options, look at what our options are, and come up with a plan that we liked. Once we came up with a plan that you liked, you don't change that plan. Yes, it has to be malleable, and yes, you might have to make some changes on the fly, but for the most part, when you have a well thought through plan, the benefit of that is you're not going to have to go back and reinvent it. You can trust it. So when things still aren't working, well, it means you've got to work your plan. I like my plan, so I'm going to build on it for September. I'm not going to just throw it all out. So here, last week, what I did is I sat down on the 30th of last week ago Friday. I knew that this first week moving into my new condo, it's going to be tough. Sure enough, I threw out my back. I was feeling under the weather again. Move is stressful, but now I was proactive. 2 days, so there's 31 days in August. On the 30th, I took a full half a day to evaluate my plan for July and August. You have to sit down and think about what is going to be sustainable. What do I need to adapt? What do I want to change? What is my plan going to be for September? And the items on the right, that's what I came up with. There's a bunch of new ones that are underlined in red that I added as new to my daily method of operation. So, for example, if you look down number 27, 90 minutes of learning something new. That's in my daily method of operation, to be learning, be actively engaged in learning, expanding my brain, expanding my consciousness, expanding my skills on a daily basis. Up towards the top, I have some of my social media metrics in there. One hand raise reel every day, one teaching reel every day, 3 stories every day where I'm sharing my progress. This is part of my coaching that I'm receiving from Dan Martell, part of the non-negotiables, part of his coaching. Well, I put that into my non-negotiables for September. Yeah.
That's something you have to take some.
Well, that's true. So I was like, if we add something, you have to take something away. Well, in some cases, absolutely, that's the case because if you just keep adding expectations without saying, "Well, look, can I realistically get this done?" Then you're absolutely just setting yourself up for uh, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. So, where will you be in a year? Imagine where you can be in just a year. Having clarity of vision and belief in a higher power and belief that you can and will make the best of whatever is in front of you. With that mindset, with that approach, it is impossible that we are the same person a year from now that we are today. It's impossible. You're doing all the right things. You can trust the process. You can trust that the steps will present themselves and unveil themselves to you as needed. And suddenly we can have detachment as well. We can have detachment from whether or not every single day is a good day or every single week is a week of massive progress. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs. But that is perfectly normal. That is perfectly okay. So, with that, brings me to an end of the presentation part. What do you guys think? Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Is there anything that inspires you to look at in your life or implement in your life? Not all at once.
Michael wants me to say something because it's a joke. Michael likes to go last.
Not necessarily, not necessarily,
I
but
know, I'm just teasing.
I feel that you spend a lot of time with Jason, so I think you have some insight to him from your heart.
No, you know what? I love it. It's a good reminder. I felt I was doing all of these things, but as I go through this with you, I can see like there's a lot of it that there's been a lot of growth and change and awareness. And this was just a sort of wow, in your face reminder in a good way. Like there was
Mm.
a few things that I'm falling short on that I just in this time spent with you now, very grateful because it's brought it back up going how important it is.
Mm.
So definitely
So
the
are you
energy.
gonna what are you going to do about it? Are you gonna write it down and make a plan or just trust your memory?
No, no, absolutely. I've been jotting it down and taking screenshots and making some notes. So that's what I
Beautiful.
was listening to you and typing some notes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean that like this so it's here's the thing you nailed it perfectly. It's like there's nothing that you didn't already know that I shared here today. It's just about bringing it back into your remembrance. Um, and we don't write things down um, unless we want to remember them. And
Well,
like,
it's
yeah,
true, but it's true, but in giving, credit where credit is due, I mean, learning from you over the past few years, being introduced to the people in Limitless, that's now our peer group. Just, I think this is an incredible for you to continue to teach to people. And I never claim to know everything, but I know this because you've taught it to me through my life experiences. I've learned it. You made me more aware of it, plus all the group, all of
yeah,
our teachings together. So I've evolved like way here since coming into incubate. That was the first part. Like you think you know, and of course you have experiences, but starting off in incubate and then going through the process in limitless. But having said that, I'm sitting here going, yeah, I'm aware of all this, everything you said today already, but I just, again, it was like, oh, wow, okay, there's some things that I've let slide. So as you were saying it, it's just kind of glaring at me like, oh, okay, yep, I know that. And why did I let it slide? And how did
mm,
it's like insanity. It's
yeah,
like you're back to doing the same things over and over and then thinking it's going to be different. But whether you,
exactly.
yeah, I didn't really intend on it, but I can really see that I let some things slide. But definitely the getting up early and really that I've been trying to get back to that, a hard stop for working, do some things before you jump in bed that, spiritual. exercise, just peace, something, instead of just work till you fall off of your feet, because you think, oh, no, I'm going to grind it out and I'm going to be determined. I'm going to get it done. And then next week I'll get back into the rhythm. The
Yeah.
perfect, yeah, what you said about being a perfectionist though, that's my biggest takeaway from today because I was raised by
Mm.
that like pounded into you that you had to be perfect, right? So you get the message from a father, you're not good enough, you never will be. You're dumb, blah, blah, blah. And then you have a mother where it's like, you can't, don't let anybody ever know what's going on, no, you can never share. Like that would be awful. And then also being a perfectionist to the nth degree, right? So what you said about, I don't have to reiterate, we all heard it, it was incredible. What you said about being a perfectionist, that was very profound for me today. Like I
Mm.
know that, but I really had to hear that. And then also starting my days again, that hard stop and starting my days again, where I wake up and I don't just jump right into things. Like you take that time. I was meditating before I was exercising. These things just once they start to slide and you put it off another day, it just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You
damaging.
know,
So you.
the thing, yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that feedback. It's really good, really valuable. So what I've found personally, and I think what you're very similar to what you're describing is by having a list of things on a daily basis that we aspire to get done, even if it's only 80% of the time, what we're doing is reinforcing to the universe that blueprint or that ideal outcome, which is that the identity that 10.0 identity. We'll never outperform our identity. But if we're not if we're not leveraging all of the systems that God has made available to us. So for example, like I know that if I did put in my quiet time, one page of the freaking Bible and meditation every single day, it would slide. I would the same way I'd do it. I'd do it as when I need it. I'd wait until I felt like I needed it, and then I would do it like, oh, I should meditate because I'm feeling this. It's kind of like drinking water. If you wait until you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Same thing here. What I've learned, the way the brain works on a 24-hour cycle is if you're not incorporating that spiritual practice in there on a 24-hour basis, that's when we start to drift. And if we
Yeah.
wake up on a Sunday and we've been drifting since the previous Monday, it's like, well, that's a bunch of missed opportunity there. And like, it's easy to beat myself up saying, oh gosh, I've drifted for another week. I just use it as a reminder, like, well, don't drift anymore, Jay. You're smarter than that. You have a plan. Stick with that plan. You've thought through that plan. You've put a lot of effort into that plan. It's the right plan. And until a better plan presents itself for you, commit to that plan.
Yeah, I agree. There's also I really learned lately that it's you really have to be clear on what you want and you really need to be clear on what it takes to get that.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a billionaire, do you really want to be a billionaire? Because thinking of just the glamorous part of it, of the money and the trips and all of the wonderful things that go with it, isn't realistic because if you go and see maybe there's people that could become billionaires, but they're not interested in doing it because they don't want to commit to what it takes to become that. So it's like if you walk in their shoes and really get clear and really get real on what it takes, then if you do want to proceed, you need to like properly, realistically put that list together of how you would reach it. And I've learned recently also that you can achieve anything if you really want it, you understand it, and you map it out. Because if you map it out, it's like you're getting in your car, right? It's like you're going to go somewhere. You map it out, you'll get there. So instead of approaching things where I want to do something and you're hoping it happens, and it doesn't, you get frustrated versus you are clear on it, you understand exactly what it takes, and you treat it like a map and a direction, like a destination, and you get in your car and you're supposed to enjoy the journey, stop for, checking things out, see it, then you will arrive. And I think we
Yep.
overcomplicate things because we don't do the work up front. I think we do things backwards. We just jump into it, get into it, and don't know how we're going to
Exactly.
get
And then exactly. And then our feelings and emotions, they muck it all up. Like if we have deservability issues where we genuinely don't feel like we deserve ease and flow and wealth and abundance, because our nervous system is so used to being broke and so used to just
there. Yeah.
having to rob from Peter to pay Paul. we'll default. So, and
Yeah.
there's a perfect example of like how
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally can sabotage us financially.
Yeah. And really, sometimes it's nothing more than, hey, you just jumped in your car, forgot to set aside funds for extra gas, didn't know where hotels were. And that's just a result of that. It's not nothing to do with any of the other stuff, but then we tell ourselves stories. Well, that's because of this, and I'm not supposed to do this. And
To
so,
make things mean all sorts of different things.
yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Deanna, so
Thanks
much
for
for
letting
being
me
here
story.
as
Yeah,
well.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful share.
Congratulations, Jason. I think you've done a great job presentation. As you know me, you've been with me. My feedback can be either just to say, yeah, I'm happy I experienced it and I was here with you. And I'm really more joyful about seeing you back where, as you say, you're back. I don't feel you back. I feel probably you are hopefully a little bit more ahead than where you were. And I can start with only one thing I really wanted to say that I found interesting is from myself regarding this with the age. I had some profound oddly experience myself because I'm coming 66 now end of this month, and well, I'm feeling good. I'm taking care of myself, and I've been working on, a lot of people are like, well, now you're retiring or you should retire, or it's kind of you I spending time also with people I know for 30 years. They're now 80 or something, and they're kind of, winding down in some way, of course, understandable because even myself, yeah, I also think sometimes my glucose is getting whacked, and I need to lay down and have a siesta, whatever. But which I feel is good because I'm listening to my body and to myself. But what happened in one of my quiet times when I'm spending time going in was something told me, yeah, but Michael, imagine you probably only halfway. And I was like, okay. And I've been contemplating on that for a little while since then, and it is true. I've been following it because I lately been studying and working a lot on the central nervous system and a whole functionality of the human body. But also I dived into something we now call digital biology, and I know I'm going deeper now into something else, but it really is a matter about the question is whether we are having the technology copying us or we actually are copying the biology. I mean, the digital, the technology, because I believe the world was digital or the existence was digital or was zeros and ones before it became organic or bio.
Mm.
Which are very difficult to talk to very few people about. It's just coming in is something I see in the but there are some talking about that if we live another 5-10 years of where we're living now, living another 5-10 years, and they are in decent health, obviously,
Yeah.
their lifespan will be now extended tremendously.
Yeah.
By default, it is just so it will. One of the big issues that is going to happen, and which is already happening now, is that which is put into some stupidity is about AI, which I say is just AI is an additionally intelligence in that alternative intelligence, but really is that we are constantly released or taking off, doing a lot of things and giving us much more um, basically sovereignty and autonomously human life. And the problem is we don't really know the one who is living and 50, 60 years old. They don't know how to live this life.
Yeah.
My daughter is waiting at the moment. My sister has two, who's just, and Diana probably just, I hope she, by the way, the boy is good, Diana. There was a boy, no?
Good
Yes.
girl. Yeah, Deanna's
No,
friend.
no, grandson.
It was a
Oh.
boy, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
right, right. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I got it wrong.
And but you know, these, if you just sit down and imagine and run through that, they are not going to have any kind of this kind of messing around we're doing with ourselves in the future as a child. They have no fuck. I mean, I've been living through with my daughters. My daughter didn't even know when she saw a cassette in Copenhagen or gramophone or whatever, record player or thing like that. You know, I mean, anyone who is born after 2000 is already as well. A lot of things they're like, what the hell was that? You know, but these people, I call them people because they are the generation that's come. I don't know what we can call them, and I believe they are getting so much guidance from other things. You know, but I keep saying if you don't know, and that's what you said yourself, if you don't get the connection to your source, and I call it the inner source of guidance, you know, own guidance, your own inner source of guidance. But not only that, but also are able to obey it and follow it. That's going, and it is now in this moment.
I think we ignore it at our detriment, Michael. I'm a
That's the
great example of
biggest
someone.
challenge. And this is why I'm saying I like your wording of non-negotiable. I'm doing that, but I'm all the time working on, but you can only obey this voice within you that's constantly are there, but it's not accessible. You are not accessible to it because you prefer, and a lot of your presentation is still also thinking, and I do think there's nothing wrong with think, but think with your heart and not with your head, you know, that's what I'm saying, you know. But I have lately I studied and read this book here. I'm doing now something called Jivamukti yoga. Supposedly, I'm not got to do this.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine what it takes to become able to do this, you know? And this guy lives in New York, but this is what I'm working on. And I feel, and I'm just saying, you know, you have to be addicted, to be devoted to that creator that's within you. And that is the creator of existence, of all existence,
Exactly.
and of your existence. And
Yeah,
if you are that, and that's all you have to do, you know, then everything else, and that's why actually today I bought the domain called the law of non-resistance. And that's the new law that everyone will talk more about.
Yeah.
You know.
Beautiful.
So that's my take on that. But I would love to give you some, I have some, for example, I like your idea of lead, maybe would you want to make an app, and you know, then you can kind of slide on that app and you can make your points, whatever you're 6 or you're 7 and 8, and eventually it calculates. I do believe that you maybe have to have 7 points. So the 7 points maybe is like the 7 chakras, which you refer to, which I'm working with, which I call the inner vibration harmony. And actually, I also own a domain called Inner Super Alignment. Inner Super Alignment is where you should operate from.
I think,
but
yeah,
it
and
would be interesting if the app was coming up with, but the point is, let's say I do this, I what do you call it? I make my assessment myself, you know, on my app, on my phone, based on what you want to do. And I come to like the average, I mean, a total of the 7 is like 49, and that's average is 7. So what do I do then? I mean, what does it mean that I'm 7 and not 10? You know what I mean? So I'm 30% from the person I should be, if I should be 10.0 version. But what is it? What does that mean? What is the difference of being, you know, someone
I think
who's
I think, Michael, what it comes down to, it's a perfectly subjective number. And that's why I don't know that I'll go as far as doing the thing sliders and all of that, because that's all technical. It's a gut feeling based on our potential. So I believe that we have an inherent innate potential, and that gap between where we are and where we could be is what's the 7 to 10. It's the gap of that's potential, and that's between you and your creator, and it's perfectly subjective. A 10, a 7 for you could be a 9 for somebody else, could be a 3 for somebody else. Because I think it's about fulfilling the potential that we are God-given potential. And in terms of having a 7th category, the 7th category would be relationships, which includes communication as well. So that's something I'm working on as well. I didn't incorporate it here today, but really there are 7. And the 7th being our relationship health, our That's our relationships with others. So it's also exteroception, in the sense that it's not an internal, but it's something that we can measure, and it's something that also is directly correlated to the throat chakra, which is the communication, right? Our voice. And without relationships, without reputation, can't build a business. So directly correlated as well to our financial
That's
success.
what I'm working with. I mean, when you see this picture, this man has no relationship with any others before he has relationship within himself. This is, and that's what the whole is becoming love itself. You know, it's like when you have that relationship 100% sorted out within you, go ahead, go out and do something. But I see, and I know you're working on it. I've been working on it. But what I would like to say, just to maybe conclude, when you show this and you say, then, okay, where will you be a year from now? Like people will say, well, what do you want to become? I don't want to become anything. I want to unbecome, you know, and I want to be less, and I want to be doing less, you know, I want to be feeling. So what I would like to do, what I'm doing now, or I can say for definitely like for 1 year or 2 years, like 10 years ago, just talking about with my wife, 10 years ago, I just saw a guy who died 54-year heart attack, some Spanish guy here, you know, in the news,
Wow.
you know, really known,
Yeah.
there's picture and all like that, you know, and I seen him constantly, you know, dying in the 50s, and I had a heart attack, I believe, you know, when I was there, you know, so I would just say the only thing I want to be doing 1 year from now is feeling better than I'm doing now, or having feeling that I make the future better. You know, some people as well, I know I'm pacing around with the words, but what is a better future, or to make the future better? Because you cannot change the future, but you can at least feel that you have done that the future is better for you or for everyone else around you, you know? So I think that's the measurement I would use, you know, do I feel, and this about the, for example, billionaire, interesting, I was on the Cala, yeah, I just shared it with you, you know, and this Eric Smith, the billionaire from California, was there with his $300 million. And I was there, I'm living like a billionaire, you know, because why? I do what I want to do in the morning. I get up when I want, and I do this and this. A billionaire has obligations. He has possessions, you know. That's a pain in the ass, you know. Possession is a killer, you know. I mean, I wouldn't, even having a ship of $300 million out there, I've been on these things with my billionaires. I will have to have a crew of 50 people. I'll have to communicate with them every day and their problems and their shit, you know, whatever. And I, on top of that, have to pay them. I mean, I could not live with that. So I'd rather not be a billionaire like that, you know. I mean, a billionaire is really been a billionaire because they're looking for what the money can buy what that can do for them, you know. But everyone knows now you're sitting on a ship of 300 million with another next to you with a helicopter on, and now what? Who do you want to have on board? Who do you want to have with you on that? You know, probably no one, because you're so miserable. So you're sitting
and you
anyway.
could be them exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So let's wrap it up with that. You're 100% right. If you could have all the financial success, and for many years I was extremely successful financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually was dead inside.
Because your
And
relationship within you is not in order.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
agree.
simple. And this goes down to your central nervous system. And I know that more than anyone now. If you are not having a parasympathetic system that works properly, and that means you only get that by sleeping 8 hours a day, that's the only medicine. If you don't have any, you don't do that, then you don't have an inner relationship, because you're constantly in overdrive with your sympathetic system, you know. You are constantly in fight and flight. You can make all this show off you want to do, pretend that you have any control and all like this, but you are not, you know. You're definitely just a ticking bomb, you know.
Exactly. And no matter what you create from that space, it's going to have fractures and cracks in it.
Yeah,
Guys, let's wrap it at
that's
that.
a good point. You want to create from somewhere where you are your own critic, you know, you're listening to, but your voice within you is the creator of the universe of all, and the creator of you, and that is God. So you actually are God's co-creator, and then you cannot be better. No?
Exactly. God's co-pilot. Exactly. 100%. Thank you
Co-creator,
so much. Co-creator. Exactly. Michael, I love you. Thank you so much. Deanna, thank you so much.
I hope that
and
feel back. It's great to
Cheers.
see you.
Have a
You look
great.
lovely, Diana.
It's lovely to see you, Michael. Thank you, Jay. You look amazing, and this was
Bye,
awesome.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Jay.
you.
Have a
Bye.
good day. Good night. Bye bye.